Glenn Robbins, and welcome to the show.
The Tommy DeVito story is fun, and it's so Jersey. But I'm just waiting for like the other shoe to drop because we've seen that happen so many times. Are you enraptured in the Tommy DeVito story?
Look, I'm enraptured by the story. I mean, really, this is sort of like the New Jersey version of Rudy, right?
Yes,
you know, the kid wasn't even like a great college quarterback, but right place, right time. I mean, everything that can go wrong did go wrong for the Giants, and he's seizing the moment. And the more I hear about the kid is they didn't like him in that locker room. But what clinched it for me was, did you see the attire that his agent was wearing the other day?
How great was that outfit?
Yes.
Looked like he went to the Sopranos set and took something off Stevie Van Zandt, didn't it?
Yes.
Right. Now, there is no way that guy has to go through a metal detector. No way.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a new year of Defo and Lubie right here. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, happy to have you with us for the Defo Show and our other enterprises as well, which we crank up again in 2024. Hope everybody had a great holiday season, and now it's time to get back to the grind, so to speak. Lubie, how are you? What are your thoughts? 2024. I'm hoping your usual optimistic self. You're always looking at the bright side of things and thinking, hey, geez, it doesn't matter what I have to do. It's going to be worth it. Are you still feeling that way after all the celebrations were over and finally the flowers were in the punch on the holiday season?
Yes, I'm happy for a new year. I'm a little under the weather.
Oh, yeah? What's the matter?
Well, my cat never lets me sleep, but usually I get to rest in between that. But we had a very active last week.
Oh, yeah?
And my back, because of picking up boxes, I did something with my back, so I wasn't sleeping great. And that, instantly, if I don't get at least my 5 or 6 hours, my whole body gets thrown out of whack. So a little under the weather, but I'll be all right. I'm excited for the new year, excited for the sports season, and happy Alabama fucking lost. And that happened in a defensive battle, which was supposedly the thing that FSU was going to do that you couldn't watch, even though it was literally the definition of a defensive battle with two horrible quarterbacks playing horribly with defenses playing each other. Weird. Almost like FSU could have done the same fucking thing. Happy to see Nick Saban go down and Washington, the one team I'm rooting on, win pretty convincingly over Texas.
I don't know how convincing it was. I mean, that game was toe-to-toe for a while. They pulled away a little bit, and then Texas got back into it, and they had a shot to win the game. A 50-50 ball, one of those. I don't know if it's 50-50. Let's say it was 33-33-33. 33% of the time that ball's going to get knocked away like it did, and either guy had an equal chance at it, but within an eyelash of winning the ball game, because that would have put them on top. All right, let's just start at the beginning. Let's take it back, because there are two schools of thought, Louis, on the fucking, as we were calling it, and that was FSU being excluded from the playoffs. One would be after they got crushed like a grape by Georgia. I mean, and this was an embarrassment. Probably, I would imagine that had to break all records for margin of victory.
Any bowl game, not even just an Orange Bowl.
My God. And it was hard to watch. It really was. It was painful. I would say this. What is it? Brock Glenn? Is that the name of the quarterback? Brock Glenn? He has a pretty good arm, this guy.
Yes.
Might be suffering from the old Josh Allen thing about being a little bit inaccurate. And maybe it was the situation, as Tony Segreto, who's going to join us later with Old School, would say. It seemed like the moment didn't necessarily phase the kid as much as the erratic nature of some of his throws. But he could throw the ball deep. So all is not lost. And your other guy, Rodemaker, of course, he decided to hit the transfer portal. And oddly, on a side note there, you get DJ Ukulele there.
Yes.
The guy who now, I mean, this is interesting about college football now, because you'll see a guy, I mean, you used to get a kick out of it. There were certain guys that got traded like a zillion times. In the NBA was Trevor Ariza. He's been traded the most. I think he's been traded 10 times altogether. And you got Jesse Chavez, a catcher, I believe in Major League Baseball, has been traded like 10 times. Minnie Minoso was on a lot of teams, although primarily played for the White Sox. Ukulele, you see kids now, they played for like 7 different colleges. It's incredible. Well, at one time, it was like, okay, he went there. Did he stay for his senior year? He didn't? Okay, well, he only played 3 years. Now the guy's played for, this ukulele guy now has played for 3 different schools. He was on Clemson. He was in Oregon State, and now he's going to be, I'm presuming, a backup on FSU.
No, he'll be our starter. No. He's going to be.
Travis is done. Jordan Travis.
Travis finally is 6
Oh,
years.
he's 7 years of eligibility. We're up.
His
Nice.
6 years. So Travis, like Jalen Daniels, or Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix, they all hit their 6 years. They all been
6 years
football. Yeah, that COVID year.
What a shambles! I mean, this whole system has become beyond bizarre.
I think these guys are the last guys to take advantage of the remember because it was 2020. So
yeah,
like I think if you came in 2021 and beyond,
that guy Hartman was playing for like 7 years also. The guy with Notre Dame.
All those guys were able to take advantage of the COVID year. I don't know if anyone else is. I'm hoping it's done. Seeing these guys Michael Penix Jr. was really good. He also is 24 years old. It's like at least Chris Weinke started at 23.
Yeah,
like these guys started at 18 and are playing at 24. Like
plenty of time to make adaptations and adjustments to
I hope
the
you
system.
become good after 6 years.
So ukulele is going to be the starter at FSU next year. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, well that's the funny thing is because everyone remembers him that doesn't watch West Coast from Clemson, and he was average. And
yeah,
at Oregon State, they were ranked, I would say top 15, top 20 most of the year, and he was a big part of that. He cut down on the turnovers. He had 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He had, I think, 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns. He cut down on the fumbles. He totally revamped his game to the point where he was one of the top 10 or 12 quarterbacks in the country this year. So
what do you think that cost FSU? What's he going to be sponsored?
It'll be something.
Image and likeness.
I don't think it's the guy Cam Ward was. UM supposedly offered him $2 to $3 million, and he turned it down, which I don't know what that says about UM. To go pro, and no one knows where he's going to get drafted because he was inconsistent as hell at Washington State. A lot of people thought DJ Uiagalelei would go pro, but this is, as of now, a really strong quarterback draft, and next year is just sort of hit or miss. So for him, and Norvell's already shown it. The guy Brady White at Memphis, he was an also-ran that turned into a really good quarterback under Norvell. Travis was a guy that most of us, including Travis, thought would be a receiver and became a top 3 to 4 quarterback in the country under Norvell. So whatever growth DJU, they're calling him, is looking to do, he presumes he can do it under Norvell. And look, for us, Brock Glenn is a year away. Like what he showed in that game is what a lot of us see in the future. Like he has the arm, he has the poise, he doesn't get rattled. He's just fucking 18. Like he's not ready to play.
May as well get some 27-year-old freshman, to come in there. That's great. 2 schools of thought on the fucking. Let's get into it a little bit here because there was a lot of stuff that went on over the weekend. Both colleges and the pros, other sports as well, are getting underway. Hell, we even had tennis news with the return of Rafael Nadal. Tournament in Brisbane. He wins his first match back after almost a year off. And comes back and beats Dominic Thiem, another guy who was on the comeback trail last year and seemed to be making strides and gains towards being the player that he was before a series of injuries beset him. But nonetheless, got smoked by Nadal in a couple of sets. And so it was a triumphant return for Rafa Nadal. That was nice to see. You have the Australian Open right around the corner. So great time of the year in sports. But the focus was on, for me anyway, 2 games in the pros. And college football, and of course the 2 championship games. I would have to say I had little to no interest in most of the other bowl games. The opt-out bowls, that's what they should just have. One name for all of it, the opt-out bowl.
Yep.
I think even Mike Norvell, that's the big joke, was thinking about opting out of FSU's game against Georgia. So one school of thought would be, well, geez, you see that? They got stomped on by Georgia, a team that didn't even make the Final Four themselves. An embarrassment. That's what would have happened if they had played either Michigan or Washington and been involved in the Final Four. And so it was a good thing that they put these other 2 teams in there because you would have to say at the very least the semifinal round of the college football playoff produced 2 very entertaining and compelling games.
The games were good.
They both came down to the wire. It was old school in the Michigan-Alabama game where you had hard-pounding defenses really throttling the opposition. Big comeback there by Michigan when it seemed like Alabama had seized control of the game. They come back and score on a drive late in the ball game, get into a tie situation, and then 2 running plays in overtime do in the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then on top of that, you really have to wonder what the fuck was Nick thinking? Calling this quarterback draw and then having his quarterback, Milroe, who supposedly has made all these brilliant strides. Here's an athletic guy who could have been, really striking all kinds of havoc into the defense if he had rolled out and done any kind of play-action pass. He would have had the option to run. But instead, he runs right up the middle, right into the pile of players, trying to gain 2 yards, which didn't happen, and that was it. Michigan gets the victory, and a lot of people were happy about that. But, the people that thought that FSU would have been stomped in that situation also maybe had to rethink their position a little bit, because you would have to say, since both of the one-loss teams ended up being knocked out of the playoffs in the semifinal round, then what would it have hurt to have Florida State at least get their chance? And a more deserving team being in there. And I think that they had earned the right to lose by whatever margin in that spot. So no great resolution of that, although the people that were fans of what happened and the overall fucking of Florida State and the compromise that was made on the integrity of the game and all of the criteria that you usually associate with getting into the conference or the college football championship, they threw that all out the window. They did make 2 very good matchups. And yet, you would have to say, since the one-loss teams both were eliminated, then what would it have hurt? I mean, would it have been an embarrassment? I don't know. Had Florida State been in there, they certainly had no reason, no incentive to have all of their guys. And how many guys ended up not playing that were of significance?
So that's the thing with the game is I figured both teams would have tons of opt-outs because, again, Georgia back-to-back champions. Up until the last weekend, they were in the playoff, and they assumed they'd be in the playoff. So what do they gain by playing that game? It's been rumored that the SEC schools, especially Alabama, because Alabama, you saw last year, they weren't in the playoff and their guys played, tie their NIL money to the bowl, which is, I'm not mad. That's smart. That's what
you would have to think that would be a condition.
Look, you guys want to opt out, that's fine. You're not going to get paid.
Yeah.
That's okay. You don't have to play. I don't want you to risk yourself. But if we're paying you to play for us. And I'm not mad. It's very, this stuff with culture. Now, Kirby Smart's not some fucking guru. It's all about the money, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. It's 100% to me. They pay their guy. They had 19 of 22 starters, and the 3 that were out were because of injuries. FSU had 8. 8 of their 22 starters playing that game. Namely, their third string 18-year-old quarterback. They had their starting quarterback. They had their starting running backs. They were missing their starting tight end, but they had their backup tight end, who's another 5-star. Like, FSU had their offensive line, and then offensive line and one of their offensive line, their defensive end.
It was a low number, is what you're saying.
Corner. Yeah. They had 8 starters. So that's the thing is, it probably could have been competitive for a half, and then eventually the depth of Georgia would pull away. When it was 19 starters to 8, like they started freshmen that haven't played the entire year, like haven't played, and they're playing against Georgia's starters. Like
it was an embarrassment all the way around.
Stupid. Like it was just dumb. And I said from the beginning the game's meaningless. FSU could have won, and I would have said it's meaningless. So I'm not changing it because they got throttled. They got throttled. It was embarrassing, pathetic, whatever you want to call it. But the fact that Kirby Smart himself after the game took no victory, he literally said that was stupid. He's like, I feel bad for those kids. He's like, that wasn't the FSU team we were looking forward to playing.
Yeah.
We understand where they're coming from. They gained nothing by playing this game. They did get sort of screwed, to be brutally honest. And the system needs to change. College football needs to realize what they want. Do they want to have bowl games or do they not want to have bowl games? Because that was a joke. That was stupid. Kirby Smart said that. So whatever fucking...
All right. Well, they fixed the problem. It was unfortunate it happened to your team this year. But, with the 12 teams coming in next year, that'll add some significance to the other ball games. So there'll at least be 6 meaningful ball games to start out, you would think. And then I don't know how exactly they're going to work that. So you're going to have 12 teams, so you have 6 games. Does somebody get a bye in the system?
4.
Like the top 4?
I think the first 4 get buys.
Okay,
and then
so there'll be a debate about that.
Yep.
But nonetheless, I mean, even if Florida State had gotten screwed, ended up number 5, and they missed out on a bye, you would have said at least they had a chance to play.
Yes.
That's always been the argument with the NCAA basketball tournament. Everybody gets a chance to play for the most part. Now that they have 68 teams, you could probably, if you were the 69th team and you were left out, so you go home crying, nobody really cares. It's not going to be of any great significance. The game itself, and so happy to see Nick Saban go down, the sanctimonious Nick Saban. Unbelievable. And yet he had his team in that ball game against a Michigan team that a lot of people thought was extremely good throughout most of the season. McCarthy, not an overwhelmingly great, accurate passer. Didn't seem like their passing game was up to speed for a team that would win a national championship in the modern era. I mean, what are we talking about here? Bo Schembechler, for God's sake. They do run the ball well. They played great defense. They were all over Jalen Milroe in this game, and you start to examine the reasons that you hate Nick Saban. And, his sort of pious approach to everything, and, the nonsense that he spews out about how the media is evil. And, it's a typical MAGA Republican type of shit, right? Blame everybody but yourself.
Yes.
It's interesting, too, because if you looked at the 4 coaches that were involved in the semifinals in their pregame interviews that they had, the obligatory pregame interviews, even Harbaugh seemed kind of loosey-goosey, right? They ask him a question, well, what is your offense going to have to do today if you're going to be victorious? And he goes, hey, first of all, I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year, right?
Yeah.
He's got a little streamer, whoop, whoop, all happy. Nick, of course, dead serious. Kalen DeBoer, the guy from Washington, he couldn't be any more down to earth, could this guy? You wouldn't even know that he was involved in something as significant as a national championship semifinal against a real good team in Texas. And the Longhorns, Sarkisian also seemed like a guy that you would want to go have a beer with, didn't he, before the game? So I was impressed with that. I mean, how loose most of these coaches were, 3 out of the 4 anyway, before the game even got started. And then you knew that there was a lot on the line, and they're playing for, all kinds of different levels of significance, including trying to perpetuate the program so they can continue to make $10 million a year or whatever it is, or maybe get into that Nick Saban category. But you start thinking about, the reasons that we dislike Nick Saban. For us, it's very simple here in South Florida. There's no doubt. And it had nothing to do with the Alabama thing, because I think that's just an awkward circumstance that coaches find themselves in. That would it have been better if when Dave Hyde posed the question, 2 weeks before the end of the season, hey, Nick, you going to be the Alabama coach? And, had he said, well, you know what, that's where I'm going, it would have been fine. But nonetheless, you would have been sabotaging whatever was left of that Dolphin season. So you guys in an awkward position. I didn't put as much concern about Nick Saban's overall character, about the fact that he looked right into the camera like Pete Rose and said, I never bet on baseball. Jim, if you ask me now one more time, I'm going to slug you.
Exactly.
But the thing was, when he was with the Dolphins, that business, you have great respect for people that achieve certain levels of accomplishment and are recognized as such, as being the best or whatever, or close to the best at what they do. Famous actors, musicians, sports stars. You always enjoy if they have at least some level of humanity to go along with it. And we found out here in South Florida when he was with the Dolphins that Nick has none, zero. He can give you all of the, pie in the sky stuff about what a great human being is that you want. The truth is he's a scumbag, a piece of shit. Because it's those people, when you see somebody who's humble, and, I'll give you a great example, and Tony would agree with me on this. When I first met the great Angelo Dundee, I'm awestruck, right? This is the guy that was the trainer in the corner with Muhammad Ali, Thriller in fucking Manila, and many other great fighters that he had, like 11 world champions, all of great acclaim, including Sugar Ray Leonard. Was there ever a better moment of coaching advice given in the corner of the boxing match between Leonard and Hearns than, you're blowing it, kid, you're blowing it? And what does the guy do? He gets inspired by that, goes out there and knocks Tommy Hearns out. And that was legendary type of stuff. But it was so humble. It didn't matter if you were some big shot or you were the lowest person on the journalistic totem pole or even a fan. The guy always treated you like you were the most important person in the room. And Nick Saban, a person that shits on the little people, so to speak, is really the most despicable and reprehensible type of human being that you could be. Here, all of these accolades and all the adulation that goes along with being Nick Saban, all of the money, all of the ease with. You think Nick Saban ever pays for a meal?
Oh, not
in Tuscaloosa? He didn't even pay for his house. Wayne bought him a house on the water. When you take the water taxi, Lubie, or you take a boat down that direction, and they go, well, that's where Nick Saban lived, courtesy of Wayne. You're like, holy shit, who would ever leave this to go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama? I don't care if your quarterback, Dante Culpepper, can't take a step out of his car but without falling down. It's, it's real luxury. But when you found out about how he had that henchman following him, and if like some secretary looked up at him and said, hey, Nick, your hair looks good today, they were gone, man. They were clearing out their desk before Nick even made it down to his office down the hallway there. It was despicable the way he treated people. And that kind of thing, that sticks with me, and that's why I couldn't have been happier than to see Alabama go down in that game, although it looked kind of dicey, didn't it?
Yes.
looked kind of dicey. And then the other game was just a well-played,
a great game,
entertaining ball game with two excellent passing attacks. Penix, man, he throws a ball on a dime, as they say.
He's great, yeah.
Down the field, yeah. And he kind of has like a little more trajectory than a Tua pass.
Yeah, but he's very accurate.
But a bullet, yeah.
Very accurate.
Where's this guy going to go in the draft? He's going to
first-round guy. I don't know what the problem is that he's old and he has injury issues. So teams don't know what the hell to do with him. Like, they don't know, is he good because he's 24 playing against 19 and 20-year-olds, or is he good because he's good? Like, they don't know what to do with him. So I think he's done enough, and I think they're going to win the title. So he'll have another, I think, great performance on a national stage that they're going to draft him, to me, first round. I just don't know if he's going to be higher than a Williams, a May, or Daniels. I think he's right there with Williams. I think he's better than May, and I think he's better than Daniels. But again, he had a lot of injury problems at Indiana, and he's 24. So
pretty cool customer, though. And, that's an excellent passing attack. Caleb DeBoer, what did we know about this guy? Nothing, right?
No, I never heard of him.
Kalen DeBoer? Where the hell did he come from? The coach of Washington.
Supposedly a bunch of like Schmenk schools, but he did a really good job at the Schmenk schools.
Wow. I'm very impressed with that guy. Anyway, two great games. In fact, to help embellish what was going on. And then, of course, we had the Dolphins and the Ravens. And now the odd circumstance of the Miami Dolphins being underdogs at home to the Buffalo Bills, who have beaten the Dolphins handily earlier in the season in Buffalo, and who seem to be just getting by in games that.
Yeah, why do people not pay attention to that? Like, the Chargers are without Herbert; they should have lost to the Chargers.
Patriots.
Bailey Zappi, and it was a game until the end. Like,
he throws 3 picks, and they're still in the game.
I mean, I don't. Whatever. Look, the Dolphins are good at home. People want to forget that. That matters. The Dolphins are good at home. They're a different team, very much like the Cowboys, and they're going to be at home. So
they'll be at home, but maybe compromised as Bradley Chubb was really coming on as a defensive presence, and that was a big factor the last few ball games when the Dolphins needed some defensive pressure. He was able to provide it on a variety of different levels, and the question, of course, was what is he doing in the game when you're down 30? Now you can always ask that question. I remember it happened with Jimmy Johnson when he had Zach Thomas on special teams in a preseason game in Mexico and he got injured. And Jimmy said, hey, listen, we play these games as if they were games. The guy's going to play at some time. He could get hurt anytime. So we had him out there because we're trying to work our system and get things in order for the regular season. To have your starters in a game, I mean, Tua got banged up a little bit at the end of that ball game. That was ugly. You're down 35, Mike McDaniel.
It was stupid.
Yeah.
You're
not winning the game. I mean, there's no chance.
There's nothing else to say about it. It's a young guy trying to prove something. Like, again, that's my problem. McDaniel and Norvell are the same dude in that regard. They're very good coaches, and their teams are where they are literally because of them. Like, the Dolphins aren't here without McDaniel. But the Dolphins aren't here without McDaniel. The Dolphins should have beat the Titans. If McDaniel didn't fuck around in that game, they beat the Titans.
That was the game that really hurt him now.
Division, the 2 seed, and they actually still have a shot at the 1 seed if the Ravens could lose and they win. The Ravens play the Steelers. It's a division game. You don't know what's going to happen. Like, McDaniel is why they're here for both reasons. Again, we talk about it all the time. And Norvell, not in this game, but Norvell all the time will around the goal line. The same thing McDaniel does, where he's starting to run it more, but he still does a lot of stupid ass play calls. And you're like, dude, you're here. You have the job. Your team has 11 wins. You don't have to prove anything. Like, just coach the goddamn game in front of you, not the game that you envisioned when you were 12 and you were the nerd that went to Yale and no one gave you credit and no one believed in you. Fuck them. You're here now. Like, that's my problem with McDaniel. He still does it all the time. Like,
he should wake up with this speech in his head.
I have no problem calling him on his goddamn voicemail. 30-point game. Chubb is literally the definition of an injury. Somehow, by the grace of God, he's the one guy that's not hurt. So you're going to tempt fate? Tua, Mr. Injury. Finally, he's played literally every minute of every game. The jiu-jitsu worked. Whatever the hell he did worked. Why would you screw around? Like, sometimes these guys, look, you talk about it. It's the thing, and I had never really heard the expression until you don't get cute.
Don't get cute, yeah.
Come on. Like, just you lost. Eat it. Like, what are you doing?
I'll tell you who's a cutie. He's right there at the bottom of your screen.
He's a handsome gent.
He looks like he's back. Now, did you come down here for that embarrassment, Tony Segreto? How are you, Tony Segreto? Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. You look great, kid.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, you guys. I was down for the game. I flew back. We have a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we're going to get into it.
Nick Saban.
Oh, you love that guy.
You like Saban.
You like Saban. You think he's all about the kids?
Outside of Tuscaloosa, that I like seeing.
You had to be following. We'll get into this. So we're going to take a quick time out here, get some important messages in for our fine sponsors who are with us here in 2024, including Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, proud sponsors of Old School.
You're not. Oh, that's actually breaking news.
You're like the public defender. You've defended him in the past.
Yes.
All I have to say is this.
Yeah.
Rooting for what team in that game was hard. Because you root for a cheater in Harbaugh.
Well, let's shout apologies to Ed Garcia for that.
I love it, but
those were the words of Tony Segreto only. Lubie and I will continue to represent your restaurants.
Yes. Or do you root for Saban?
Well, you can't root for Saban. I can't. We'll get into that in just a moment here. Tony Segreto, Old School, coming up, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Ed Garcia, who was at that game. I mean, what a terrific game to be at.
He's got to be thrilled.
You see the thing with David Portnoy, who bet $1 million on Michigan? That was great, too, man. And that money looked like it was very much in the Bunsen burner, my friend, when I did not anticipate that late drive being successful. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment with Tony Segreto, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Now that. 8:32 in 2024.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto, brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're going to have Tony with us here, starting out our first program of 2024. What better way to do it than with a living legend, the great, and it's nice not to have to attach the word late to the great Tony Segreto joins Lubie and me, Jeff DeForest with you here on the Defo Show, and happy to have you guys sticking with us in 2024. All right, Tony, where do you want to start? I mean, where would you like to begin? I know you're a big college football fan. You were at the Orange Bowl. It became difficult to watch. It really did.
That was tough to watch. And, I was telling my wife the other day that I give credit to, now let me finish. I give credit to Kirby Smart because he played his starters. He played them to the end. He got on a soapbox afterwards and said, this has got to change today.
Yep. I respect him. I respect him wholeheartily. I have no problem with it.
It was like Joan Baez getting up there and saying, we got to change the world.
He played his guys. I mean, the fact that they were willing to play. I was talking to Defo. I think this, if not the SEC schools, Alabama and Georgia, tie their NIL 2 bowls because Alabama did it last year. And I don't think, again, Saban's the almighty. His players transfer pretty quickly. So I don't think they love Nick Saban. I think, and it's smart. It's what schools should do. But Kirby, like you just said, after the game was very honest and said that wasn't FSU. Whoever's going to take anything from this game is stupid. That was not FSU. That was a disgrace. I don't blame those kids or Coach Norvell, but the system's broke and something has to change.
Yeah, and so that's where I start.
Yeah.
And then you go to the national championship and it's hard to root. It's hard to root for either team. But that said, give credit to Jim Harbaugh and the team because they just rallied around the coach. They rallied around each other. They did what they could, and they stood tough against a team that was coming on the rise. And that's not the team that we saw 5-6 weeks ago.
No, it was great. A good hard-hitting football game. Very enjoyable from that standpoint.
I
had a Segreto moment, though, at the end of that game. I really did. No, I honestly did. I thought of you, Tony, because, I was looking at the demeanor of the coaches before the ball game and in their in-game interviews, whatever. And this DeBoer, I mean, he couldn't be any more of a normal guy. Sarkisian came off as like a guy that you want to go slug down a couple of slices of pizza and have a beer with, in some Brooklyn bar. Harbaugh, when McCarthy came over to Harbaugh, and you always talk about this, and I think it's, there is some truth to it. We've seen this over the years from knowing different coaches and seeing how their relationships with players extended, way past the time that they were either coaching or playing. But McCarthy, seemed to genuinely, look upon Jim Harbaugh as almost as if he was a personal savior for him. And it seemed like there was genuinely, some kind of affection being exchanged. I don't mean in a Sandusky type of way, but, the kind of thing that you would love to see, that you always talk about, the sanctimony of college football and the relationship between coach and player. You could really see that manifested in that moment.
You could see that. You could see that the team respected and cherished the relationships with Jim Harbaugh and to a player. And I give them credit. I give them a lot of credit. And I hope they win the national championship now, because Ed
Garcia is coming on the show.
That was so good. Yeah, that was so good to see whip Alabama, to whip Nick Saban, to see him on the sideline.
I don't know that they whipped him, though. Look, they were on the ropes in that game. And the overtime is such a dicey proposition. It really is. And you have to wonder, what the hell? Nick had to kill somebody after that game. Did he send in that play, the quarterback draw? And if you're gonna run that, and you've got it called, Milroe had made great strides as a quarterback, what is he doing running into the middle of the pile there, Tony? Like, he ran right into the fire.
This is what I don't like about Nick Saban, among other things. He doesn't give credit, but he gives attribution to coaches who make a wrong call or a bad call. And he threw Tommy Rees.
I didn't see that. Yeah. I saw he had no complimentary words about the performance of Michigan, which
none,
not atypical of a Nick Saban aftermath of the loss.
Not that we got beat by a better team. None of
he didn't even say they played well. He just said, we sucked.
No.
I don't mind. You know what? He can be as bitter as he wants after a loss. Did you were still doing news and sports, weren't you, when Saban was the coach here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
let me tell you the story.
Go ahead. These inside things that took place in the Dolphin offices, where people had worked for like 40 years with nothing but that organization had tremendous loyalty and a good spirit to it before Saban came here. And you know what? I don't know that we've ever recovered from that, the so-called culture that was established by Nick Saban.
I'll tell you the story that I had with Nick Saban. I was playing Grand Oaks one day, and my ball went into the other fairway, and Nick was playing it. Said, "Oh, Nick Saban, how are you? I'm Tony Segreto.
You're bigger than Saban down here."
And he goes, "Oh, nice to meet you," and he walks off. So I see him again 2 or 3 times, and it's so nice to see you. Blah, 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 blah. Fast forward to Wayne Huizinga's house. I'm at Wayne's house for a party, and I'm standing there with Mike, with Dan Marino, with Mike, with Jim Kelly, and with another quarterback. And we're sitting there talking, and we're laughing, and we're coming around. Nick Saban comes over and hugs me and says, "Tony, how the heck are you?" And I looked at him and I said, "You son of a," I didn't say it, "You son of a bitch. How can you be this way?"
That's how he is, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you probably knew some of the people that ended up getting fired for like saying,
Oh,
"Hey, that jacket looks good on you, coach." And then he would have I don't remember the name of the henchman that he had running around, but he had like a hatchet man that followed him around. I guess under the auspices of being a semi security guy, and he would turn and tell the guy, make sure this person is gone before I come back out of my office. And
yeah,
it
yeah.
destroyed. I mean, what was I think.
Destroyed the
Yeah.
morale of the team in the
Right.
office.
I mean, those
It
people
was
were so loyal, Tony. You know this because I mean, it used to be a pleasure to deal with the Miami Dolphins all of
it
those
was
years.
it was yeah, I'm calling them today because I got to get 4 tickets for my daughter.
For the Bills game? Oh,
Yeah.
listen to you, Tony. Still with some serious bull, man. Who are you calling? Harvey Green? I mean, who gets you the tickets? Can you say? You go straight to Garfinkel himself
Is
there.
Harvey even involved anymore?
No, not with the
Harvey,
Dolphins.
I don't know. He's kind of like
He's
got
the
some kind of
NFL.
honorary status as
He's with the
a
NFL or
president.
something now.
Honorary
I
status?
guess I don't know.
NFL, I think
Emeritus or emeritus.
I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't have a day
Emeritus it
job.
is.
No, he doesn't have a day job.
What, Lubie?
He doesn't have a day job. I think he works for the NFL in some fashion or the Dolphins in some far-reaching fashion. He's not like head this or that.
So you're not calling Harvey. All right. So we eliminated one.
I'll call Bill Galante or Nat Moore.
Nat Moore. There you go. Oh my God. Yeah, you got some serious pull, Tony. That's great. Well, what do you make of that? That the Dolphins now are playing for their playoff, not necessarily playoff lives. They're in the playoffs.
No,
I'm looking at, and this must have been one of your favorite things to do because it was always great, and we had plenty of time, to go ahead and elaborate on this stuff. But playoff scenarios, I could never figure them out. Right? A guy would call, "Hey, what chance do the Colts have of making the postseason?" You're like, "Well, if they win, and then so and so loses, so and so, and the other two teams tie, then they're out." Like what?
The Colts turned out to be a real team.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
Yeah,
Gardner Minshew.
Weird.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you make of this situation here? And why do you think the Dolphins are in it? Is it a good thing? I mean, they won 11 games. It's not bad. Now it's a 17-game season, so is 11 and 6 all that glorious? Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. It's still 5 games above 500.
Yep, and they proved again they can't win on the road. That's the problem, Lubie. To your point, they can't win on the road. That's why this game becomes that much more important. Because if they win this game, then they get the second. Second
yeah,
seed?
they lock up the 2 seed.
So they get a home game.
They get 2 home games.
Oh, 2 home games.
Yeah,
with the 2 seed. They would be home
right.
as long as they win until the Ravens, which they would lose probably, but at least they would win 2 home games.
And you hope the Ravens aren't there. That they somehow fall on their face.
Else, never know. Yeah,
exactly. So if they win, that's big. If they win, and Buffalo's got to win too because they got to get a seed.
Yeah, I don't know if they're in yet. I don't think they're in.
I think Buffalo might have to win to.
I don't think they're in. Yeah, I don't think
possible.
You don't have to win.
I don't think
I could check it out here. Look it up real quick.
Check it out.
There you go. Buffalo Bills.
I don't think they've clinched a spot.
Now the Bills can clinch a playoff berth. Buffalo tie. If they tie, they're in. A Pittsburgh loss or tie. A Jacksonville loss or tie. Houston and Indianapolis tie.
They don't have to win to get in, but
sounds like Pat Dye is involved in this scenario here. Holy shit!
You see ties.
You won a bunch of ties.
You see ties.
It's crazy.
You never thought a tie was so important.
Well, you would have to think that they're on a mission from God here. I mean, never mind the playoffs. They have a chance to be not the 2 seed, but sitting at home also for a home game to start it out.
Oh yeah,
which would be great for them in January in Buffalo. So, 3-point favorites, the Buffalo Bills. Does that surprise you? But we're going to bring on Ed Garcia here, and maybe the happiest man on the planet right now is Ed Garcia. And I thought I saw you in a crowd shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. I was out there running, having a great time. So very, very good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing well. And so give us a little bit of the experience there. You land out of a red eye, and you go straight to the ballpark. Give us the story.
100% went straight to the ballpark. Had enough time to have an adult beverage before I settled in my seats, and not too bad seats. I was fairly close to the Alabama student section, a little bit on the end zone. However, during that game, I went through about a bottle and a half of heart medication. Really watched special teams give it an F. But overall, the offense and the defense, really came through. It was a fantastic game. The ending, I really feel, if Michigan was playing at 100%, probably would have been closer to 42-20 is probably my prediction. However, again, there was a lot of nervousness and two really, really, really awesome teams, going at it. Hey, we'll take the win in overtime. And I really look forward to, going to Washington next week.
Are you going?
I want to, but it's our kickoff meeting for Texas Roadhouse. So I don't think
sick.
It's in Houston, right? The championship in Houston.
Flu's going around, Ed. You don't want to get anybody else sick.
I was going for the trifecta: COVID, strep, and the flu. So that's what the doctor's note's going to say.
Well, I go to the game.
Yeah. There must be some Texas Roadhouse, locations in Houston and around that
we
area.
got plenty.
Yeah. I just go and I'd say, "Excuse me, I love you. I'm a Michigan grad. I got to go to the game."
That's right.
Plain and simple.
That's right.
Plain and simple. Either that or buy enough tickets to where, or get enough tickets to where you can bring
everyone.
Some of the
kickoffs.
Yes. Can you believe Tony, though? No problem calling somebody and getting 4 tickets for this Bills game. I mean, the biggest game in the last 20 years of Dolphins football.
Yeah.
And,
I tell you,
at the last minute.
Celebrity.
Yeah, at the last minute, he's making that call. All right. It was interesting all the way around. I'm sure, we're no fans of Nick Saban, as you know, so naturally was pulling very hard for Michigan in that game. Washington, another one of those teams, the old, nobody respects us. They're underdogs already to Michigan, 4 and a hook. And yet, as Lubie would say about his FSU team up until that bludgeoning in the Orange Bowl, all we do is win. And they've done it impressively. So, this could be one hell of a matchup for the championship. And you would have to say it's not undeserved because both of the teams are the two that are 14-0.
That is correct. I think overall it's going to be a really great game. I feel like the first half is just going to be just all on defense. Washington has a great passing game, but I also feel that Michigan has the number 1 pass rush defense out there too. So I think we'll be able to hold them tight. And then by the third quarter, that's when Michigan will figure it out and we'll squeak away. That's my prediction right now. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
We're in the squares here. Lubie is a guy who is just dying to tell you about why Florida State
don't get him started.
Should be
no. They wouldn't. I don't think they would have beaten Michigan. I just wanted a chance. I mean, that's all I wanted was a chance. Michigan is good. I don't know. I wonder what happened to their passing attack. That's what I'm confused about. JJ McCarthy was actually good for and Harbaugh says he's the best quarterback he's ever seen, which I don't know what he's watching. First half of the year and the last month and a half, he looks like a freshman. He's a third-year starter. I don't know what's happened to him. That's my question for Michigan is how can they keep Washington? People think the Pac-12 is this soft conference that's ACC light. They don't realize the Pac-12 is not only the best conference, it was the most physical conference this year. Outside of USC, most of the best defenses in the country, all outside of Michigan and Florida State, all resided in Georgia and Bama in the Pac-12. And what I'm curious is how can Michigan keep up with Washington? At some point, Washington's going to score. What is the Fakakta running with Corum? And I get it. Washington's rush defense.
Fakakta running with Corum.
Well, because they'll run it 40 times in a row. And this is Penn State. Flacco Penix Jr., if you watch, can put it on a dime and has the best receiving core in college football by a lot. They have 4 guys that don't drop the ball. And Odunze is already an NFL receiver now. Can Michigan go back to the team that was throwing it around when they were playing the teams? Because the running the ball 40 times, I don't see that winning the game. That's, to me, is I don't not give Michigan a chance. They're undefeated. They just came back to put away Alabama. can they open it up? They haven't opened it up literally in like 2 months. So they're going to have to. I don't care how good their pass defense is. Washington's going to score. Like, they're going to put up points. They're going to get 21 or 24. Like, Michigan's going to have to throw. And I'm curious what the hell happened to them. Like, McCarthy's not the guy we've seen. He's not who Harbaugh thinks he is, but he's not the guy we've seen this last month and a half. Like, where has he gone? Why has he become this game manager thing? Because the guy was a top 10 quarterback coming out of high school. He was a really good quarterback last year. He was really good early in this year. Like, you watch them more. Is it on purpose that they were playing this way because they're just playing it safe? Like, I'm curious, were they holding back and now they're going to let it go? Because to me, the game plan they've been running is not the way you're going to beat this Washington team.
Well, overall, a couple things. I think that the teams that Michigan played, going into Penn State changed dramatically. That's when you saw J.J. McCarthy stop throwing the throws and went to the run.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was a big change in the strategy. It has worked. I mean, I'll disagree with you, Lubie, on, hey, running doesn't win the game. That's how Michigan, 90% of the program has always been built on the run. So I think that it's a good, safe bet in a sense. Why is JJ, not throwing on the dime? I think it's just a better pass rush defense, and he's calibrated himself. But I feel he'll throw a few mistakes. But overall, I think the way that we played with Alabama, we came out hard with the throw. And you saw the tides change in the Alabama game. As soon as we started to run the ball a little bit, boom, then Michigan really began to take off. But I think that's just part of Harbaugh's method.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I see them just pounding and pounding and pounding them to the next week.
Yep.
I mean, Washington, I just see them pounding them, and I see them ball controlling it. Because if you take the game out of Penix's hands, he can't do anything.
Maybe right there. If they keep the ball away from Washington, that's the best strategy.
Michigan will just run and run and run some more.
And the pressure that our defense has been putting. I mean, we had 5 sacks in the first half.
I saw you were credited in the box score with a sack. It said
that is correct.
C-E. Yeah.
I came in sucking from the side. It was nice. It was a clean hit, but
it was a Rudy moment for the Wolverines. Their fans. Did you have $1 million on a game like David Portnoy? Was there any kind of a wager made by Ed Garcia?
I stopped betting on Michigan probably about 17 years ago because all I did was lose. So I actually almost bet on Alabama because I was going to do the reverse philosophy to see.
If you had a bet on them, that makes sense.
Did any of you see how much Vegas lost on that? Because I heard it was like 80% all Alabama. I mean,
everybody thought they were going to win the game. Yeah, but although the line kind of bumped around a little bit, screwing around by like a half a point, nothing overwhelmingly significant. But I think it went off as a 2-point game.
Correct.
And it was hovering around 1.5 for a good period of time in the 4 or 5 weeks, whatever that was leading up to it. Yes. Restaurants 2024 at Garcia. What's happening? Texas Roadhouse.
Hey. A couple of us are still open for lunch this week since a lot of people are off work and still kind of working off the maybe the adult beverage hangover from New Year's Eve. But, come check us out. Monday through Thursday, most of the locations have our early dine special, and it ranges anywhere from $9.99 to maybe $13.99, depending where you're at. But, we have about 10 different meals, including a 6-ounce sirloin. You can get our huge chicken salad, our pork chop, which if you haven't had our pork chop, is absolutely fantastic.
They are fantastic.
One of my wife and I's favorite dish.
Yes. And so come in, check us out. We got a lot of great specials going on. But you know what? Here's the big thing from 2023 to 2024. We can only get better. And we don't change a lot because, it's like football. We just want to stick with the block and tackle, execute great food for you, and have a great time. So come on in and see us.
Hey, you're still using old school prices, too. Speaking of old school with Tony Segreto.
Old school prices.
Fantastic. I mean, you guys are doing it right. And best of luck in the championship game. And we'll talk to you next week after we see if they crown Michigan a champion.
I hope you come out winners.
Let's go Natty. Let's go Blue.
That'd be great. All right, Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen. Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, proud sponsors of Old School with Tony Segreto.
There are some restaurants that just personify greatness. And I want to say that about Texas Roadhouse.
They do a terrific job.
They're not, they play to who they are. They right, Lubie? They just they don't try to be Ruth Chris. They don't try to be, steakhouses like,
Smith and Walensky.
Yes. Yeah. They're just middle of the road. They great food, great atmosphere, great drinks, and they just block and tackle, like you said, every single day.
Do a terrific job, really. I mean, for a family too, going out, just a great idea. Be able to actually afford like a meal outside, and you know what? I mean, you're not sacrificing a ton in terms of quality from the highest priced restaurant. So you'll really enjoy it. Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. All right, Tony, what's on tap for you? You're just digging your way out of the snowbanks in Vermont for their.
Yeah, what's the weather like?
It's actually not snowing today. It's 28 degrees.
Beautiful.
And it's not. It's nice outside.
We're freezing. It's 55.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice outside. It's beautiful, and I'm just blessed. I'm very blessed and very thankful that I'm with you guys, and that we're all still here.
Yes, we're here. We're back for more, man. More abuse, more punishment, more sarcasm. And Tony, thanks for being with us on our maiden voyage here of 2024. Getting the year off to a rocket start here with Tony Segreto and Old School.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank you guys for everything.
We love you. You're the best.
You're a great American. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen.
Be well, and we'll see you next week.
Tony Segreto.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think, Lubie? There's a bunch of other stuff that happened. The Panthers are hot right now. They won 5 in a row. So that's kind of nice. They were in Arizona. Arizona kind of turned. Their Coyotes have been abysmal at best for years, and they kind of turned the corner a little bit. But that was snuffed out by the Panthers last night. That's great. Big trade in the NBA with the New York Knicks, Lubie.
Yeah, the guy
that all over that.
Anunoby for like 2 or 3 years. He's sort of peaked, and he never became the star, but he's a really good defender.
Yeah,
he's a nice offensive player. He's literally a perfect Heat guy.
They're in love with him. They're in love with him in New York.
The Knicks needed some physicality. RJ Barrett, they needed consistency and physicality, and that's one thing Barrett didn't bring, and then one thing that OG does.
Emmanuel Quickly, also part of that deal. That was a deal between the Knicks and Toronto. And it's funny, too, because you know me and my New York Post, everybody was shocked, like they were stunned. No, now's not the time to fuck with things. Leon Rose is the president and the personnel guy for the New York Knicks. And, I guess they came to accept Barrett. I never thought Barrett was a great player.
No, he's
all right. Sometimes you would be surprised that he actually had like 27 points in a ball game because you're thinking he's been tossing bricks up there while I've been watching.
Yep.
He was another one of those guys that, never, Corver, like Kyle Corver.
Yeah.
The guy that I never saw make a shot, even though he was like among the leaders in 3-point shooting percentage forever, Kyle Corver. The same thing with RJ Barrett. Every time I watched him, he was making some lazy-ass move to the basket, getting the ball swatted away, and that was coming back down the other side of the court. But, that was a big deal. So they hated the deal at first, the New York press. And I guess, are they a reflection of the New York fans? I'm not sure.
The fans were excited. So because I'm in a chat with 2 of my good friends, and they're Knicks fans. So we'll talk a lot of FSU. We talk a lot of life and sports. And then when Knicks stuff happens, they talk about it in our chat.
Yeah.
And they were excited because Barrett had been so inconsistent his whole tenure. Like, that's just his thing. And they need some consistency. And OG.
He was that way at Duke. He never overwhelmingly impressed me that he was a number 3 pick. You could say Chris Washburn was a number 3 pick in the NBA. And he was a complete bust. But, he accomplished something. He kind of maybe had reached the peak of his talents, and that was to be that player that occasionally looked really good. And for the most part, though, you were wondering, what the hell is this guy doing? And so anyway, Anunoby, all of a sudden, because he had a great debut, 17 points and a bunch of other things.
He's just really good
part of the floor game. Yeah, good defensively. He now is being hailed as a savior in New York City.
He's not the savior. The Knicks are the Knicks. Jalen Brunson is better than even people like me will give him credit. And he'll probably play well in the playoffs, and they'll lose in the first or second round. I mean, that's what the Knicks are. Julius Randle. They're again counting on Julius Randle. I'm like, okay, good luck. Keep counting on Julius Randle. Like,
since you condemned his play, though, he was having a long streak of brilliance.
Yeah, he's great in the regular season. He was great in the regular season last year.
Yeah.
And then the playoffs happen, and he sucks. It's not even that the playoffs happen and he's average. That would almost be okay because you now have OG and Brunson has really become a number one, like a legit number one. He's more like a number two, a really good number two. But for them, he's okay as a number one if they had a legit number two. Randall isn't. Randall, like
big news in New York. Yeah.
They get excited about everything. They were just excited about Tommy DeVito. And like
you call that? I mean, no, you this guy can't get a free slice of pizza.
Yeah, not only the Open's right, people have forgotten who he is. It was like, how do you go from being the top? At least Insanity let that linger for years, where he made another contract. DeVito's never going to play again, the way it seems right now. Like Jesus, like.
Looks like if he does play again, it'll be as a backup for like the Seahawks or something.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Our initial program, 2024. I hope you enjoyed it. Always great having Tony Segreto on a program. I like the fact he can pick up the phone confidently.
Yes.
Not 2 tickets, 4 tickets. Get me Quattro, please. For the biggest game in the last 2 decades anyway of Dolphin history.
Yes, this is it. They haven't been a number 2 seed since 1993 or whatever. That Chargers year, I guess.
The consolation of having to go on the road in the opening round of the playoffs after having a spectacular season and teasing people with the notion that you might be capable of being a Super Bowl team, for God's sake, would be crushed if you ended up as the number 7 seed and had to face like the Indianapolis Colts in the first round of the playoffs. A game they might be able to win, but nonetheless, going on the road would be a disgrace by comparison to being number 2.
They had a 3-game lead on the Bills, like 5 games, like with 5 games left in football.
Yeah, in football, yeah, exactly. That's like the Phillies collapse.
Yeah, that's a collapse.
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. A lot of fun being with you. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can catch us on the Tony Bruno Sports Network later on, 10 o'clock. Download the app, and then we're there from 10 to 12. And, of course, nofilter.net. That's been going well for us. So we'll crank up our 2024 edition today. And you can find that on nofilter.net or Caffeine TV. And the name of the program is The Morning Briefing. All right, for Mike Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanking Tony Segreto, Ed Garcia for joining us. We'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
Just one call, and he gets 4. Unbelievable. 903.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.